Moving on, still on PESTEL, social and cultural environment. So if we have civil unrest, cultural clashes in an environment in which an organization is operating from, it's going to affect the organization. Technological environment, like the example that I cited before of that organization that obviously did not do anything wrong, but they find themselves out of business. It was because of technology. I wouldn't want to mention it. It was because of technology. Technology overtook them because they were not analyzing their environment. So technological environment could impact directly, especially in this 21st century. Ecological environment too. The land in which we operate for the environment in which we operate from as a way of affecting us, especially, for example, if an organization goes into farming and the land is not that fertile for that particular crop, it's going to affect. Also, if in that particular environment there is a lot of maybe earthquake, natural disaster and the like, is going to impact directly the performance and the profitability of the organization and competitiveness within the industry, within the country, and as a global village. Last but not the least that Pestel talk about is the legal aspects. This may be a bit political and otherwise, but because government has to make policy and the like and formulation of policy. So legal environment too could have a way of affecting the performance and competitiveness of organization. Like in Nigeria now, we recently have a Kama 2020 being consented to, and that is a legal environment. A lot has changed positively and otherwise, depending on which side of the divide an organization is. But the better the legal environment and its enhancement of business performance, the better. Like if somebody wants to incorporate an organization and it takes longer, it takes ages just to set up an organization and documentation. That is part of legal environment and it's going to affect the competitiveness. So it simply means if somebody has an idea of business and within the next 2 3 days can go into it, but in other crimes because of legal environments you cannot even form the organization in form of legal documentation, maybe the next 1 month or 2 months. So it affects competitiveness of the organization. Okay, what are the limitations of PESTEL as good as it is to analyze our external environment within a country? It has its own side effects. And one of the side effects is because is that qualitative, that is narrative. We talk about political environment, we talk about technological environment, ecological environment, and the like. There is no scientific basis for it, and so because of this, it has a demerit in that aspect because it could not predict the future with accuracy. Could not predict the future with accuracy. It is easier to use PESTEL analysis to identify environmental influences. I read from my notes in the past and present. It is not easy to identify the environmental influence when we are talking about the big picture in the future. So the predictability of the environment and change driver using PESTEL is almost zero and it's a big disadvantage. Another one that is closer to it is because it's not quantitative, like I said. We cannot use it to predict. So it's not that scientific. So it becomes a subjective analysis depending on individuals' judgment. And we know that when judgments of individual comes in, we definitely have different results. So if an organization use PESTEL as basis of their analysis and another organization within the same industry should use it, they will have different results because it's all about individual judgment. So it's a big disadvantage to this particular form of analysis. Okay, we are moving on. Professor Michael Porter's Diamond from the Harvard University and Harvard Business School. So Professor Michael Porter proposed four aspects of or elements that affects global competitiveness of any organization. Don't forget, PESTEL talk about competitiveness of organization within the same industry and within a local environment or within a country. So Michael Porter now take his own a step forward into a global village, taking a global view of competitiveness. Japan, we take Japan as example. Japan is just like a floating factory, and basically they just have like 20% of usable land. Every other aspect, landmass in Japan, basically they are mountainous. But because they could harness all these things that Michael Porter is talking about, they were able to achieve results, especially the favorable factor condition. And which favorable factor of condition do Japan, for example, harness? They harness on the favorable factor condition of human resources. They have highly skilled professional in any field, name it. And this they use to the advantage, even though they do not have space and they are disadvantaged in that, but they could not feel it because they've enhanced their country and global competitiveness by leveraging on just one of the four diamonds that Michael Porter mentioned. Okay, let me read from my notes. Business entity in some countries appear to enjoy competitive advantage, like I mentioned Japan, more than the other. So if an organization is in Nigeria and the same organization or similar organization rather in Japan, most likely they are going to outperform that of Nigeria here because of leveraging on this factor that Michael Porter is talking about. This competitive advantage is often concentrated in particular region. So like now we go into cluster. What is cluster? Cluster simply means, like in Nigeria we will call it industrial layout or something like that. So it simply means collection of many organizations within the same industry or collection of different organizations that could complement one another within the same region or locality. So that is cluster. That is coming together of many industries, of many organizations, companies coming together but settle down within a locality. So this has a way of enhancing the organizational performance and global competitiveness. So Michael Porter is telling us that when we have a country or a region or a state that has this kind of structure and mass, they outperform the company in that country will most likely outperform their competitor in the same industry globally. So Michael Porter talked about firm strategy, that is, if organizations should have strategy. And don't forget, let us know before that strategy is outward focus. At the heart of strategy is competitiveness. So strategy is outward looking. So Michael Porter is saying if an organization should have a strong strategy, they could enhance their performance even in the global village, have good structure and mentality to rival. Also, he spoke about demand condition. That is, if within a country there is high demand for what the organization is selling, may outperform the others with low demand. And that is why in economics it's advisable that every country should buy what they are producing to enhance their GDP, gross domestic product. So this is one of the things that Michael Porter is stressing: demand condition, related and supported industry. Like I mentioned before, cluster, different organization producing different things that complements. So the input of one is output of another, and they are within the same locality. So the transportation is minimized, air freight is minimized, and like unlike, for example, in Nigeria that we have to pay large sum of amounts to clear what we've imported and the like. So this has a way of impacting directly the cost and reducing the competitiveness of our businesses in the global village. The criticism of Michael Porter's diamond model of analysis. Basically, it was criticized on two folds: that he took his eyes off the local organization that is within a country, like PESTEL did. So is one of the criticism that okay, he didn't consider his analysis to be applicable within within a country. Two, that Michael Porter's role of being a global leader does not help him to consider a local organization, especially multinationals that are out of their base into other regions. Because is Mega Porter is talking about okay, the competitiveness of organization in a country outperforming the other in another country. But now they are pointing Porter's attention to okay, when you are talking about okay, that organization that has a better cluster and demand advantage and the like outperform the others in the rest or other parts of the world, fine. But you are not considering that okay, this organization could leave their roots and go into the other country, and they have the local advantage against the local competitor in which they are operating within their local domain. So these are the two critical factors that they mentioned to criticize the Porter's diamond. Benga Olatunji, I will be signing off. I see you for third module. We will be talking about competitive forces. Competitive forces. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe to us, like us. GJAMES Associates, we are value to your business, we are value to life.